Leela in lockdown. During the first wave of the coronavirus pandemic in April 2020, I was living in community at Osho Leela in Dorset. Leela means play. It's a Sanskrit word referring to the divine play of the universe, creation in the process of creating, of being created, of being. I was at Leela in lockdown, and I was curious to explore what it meant to be under imposed constraint, how I felt about that. What were the possibilities for creative play, creative freedom within constraint? I chose a constraint-based poetic form, John Cage's mesostic, to give rules and restrictions to my creative practice, and I found ways to express my autonomy within that. I was exploring the dance between subjectivity and objectivity, which I have also explored at length in my thesis on utopian poetics. I used an online mesostic generator available from Modpo at UPenn. Cage gives a lengthy explanation of the detailed formal constraints of the mesostic before adding, "Then I take out the words I don't want. With respect to the source material, I am in a global situation. Words come first from here and then from there. The situation is not linear. It is as though I am in a forest, hunting for ideas." If Cage allowed himself to take out any words he didn't want, I would also allow myself to add in any words I wanted. I would alter the lineation, capitalization, and visible traces of the spine word, giving myself the creative freedom to make the poem according to what felt most appropriate visibly, rhythmically, energetically, and intuitively, within the limited resources available to me, and instigated by the initial exercise in constraint. I wrote, Cage allowed himself to take out any words he didn't want. Autonomy, subjectivity, creative interplay between subjective and objective. I will also allow myself to add in any words I want. Co-creativity, manifestation, abundance, limitless possibility, expansion, growth. With respect to the source material, I also am in a global situation. My source materials were gathered from the internet, from emails, from my own notes, from poetry readings, from conversations, and from whatever I could copy and paste during those early days of the pandemic. I asked myself the questions. What happens if I? What happens when I? To whom will I give the power to decide whether lockdown is a tool of liberation or oppression? I set out to practice co-creativity in lockdown, to find limitless possibility within limited form with limited resources. And I took note of Lainey Brown's words. No one knows exactly what they are setting out to do, because poetry is a living transmission whose evolution is linked to other bodies in time. I linked my poetry to other bodies, other beings, other words and others' words. This performance focuses on the creative play between enforced domesticity and strange intimacy during life in lockdown. Leela in Lockdown, published by Pamenar Press in 2021. Estranged shock. At times like this, it's easy to use the adjective biblical to the up. The Wanderer. Britain's economy signals gross even though the virus had to take hold the traveller unassuming. Hesitant bodies. Maintain organs with desire and greed. Only smudged or rosy thrilled the body intervenes. The contact is or no one, or something, or excess, isolation. I have never felt so. There echoes our pandemic, which has dissolved the urban. Organize your army. You feed your belly and you feed your sad, and it is fluid. There is a base of connection. A ritual we chose, our alignments sat, co-creating this image of water within earth like well springs hidden, ready for herbalists across America, being trademarked by corporations. The very act of making is resistance and powerful immune. Cut. The weeks boost you for the brew. 4 weeks into more you wait. You can. Time, honey, always that is. You feed belly and not that consciously, but family members, arrest of. Out of utopia, more than people, everywhere they arrest local, almost, fortune enriching much, support to each other. Bite and crack. Book is a geography where freedom relieves pressure and to find room for growing out of all symptoms upon me to feel. Scramble to room, to eat, work, get off. Why bother art? The groceries getting though. Work it. The knowledge of the stifled, the revived. Words work. In book, in. Youthful folly. Staying, feet apart when you experience control of the present. Sporadic avoidances, the restlessness, the pain, this irrepressible sense of morass, fear and language, this virus. Myself in every possible, turned far inside till I beat living. Life solitary there was almost no out. We have to live through lockdown, for at least a protracted staying away from people, mostly coffees, shops and all activities that give life sustenance. Propriety subordinate. Steps from embraces, a sudden turn to force, not necessarily of tranquility. Sojourn tangible in home, birthplace, very unfamiliar territory. The change one might find in a state of suspension. Gradual development. Eating into other realms provides illumination and gaining knowledge. Dream of apples grown in awareness. They are about to make continuum of control. The epidemic testing for people, infections, moment of action. And when we chose to leave this world and travel to the other world, eyes of patrol double down restrictions in such a way that it could. Fellowship, comradeship by organization. Yourself allow, yourself be seen and enough. Here, the emphasis is in opening often, hand in process exposed what I for wisdom, courage and integrity, truthfulness left on the sinister Scorpio moon come from sensual potency of how much I can express my anger emotion is also how much I can express the upwards, the everything. Hesitating penetration left me possibilities of resistance, creating new ways like stepping out into thin air. Almost 2 months since people began to up restrictions, never seen statistics on world population economics reminds us too that just rich subjects matter and measures prevent being richest billionaires from billion to billion. That said, I constrict makes inventive. We must art the work, and our freedom is a fact being engulfed. Makes me alert while we establish control systems, run it for separating family members, squeezed by tears, like heavy rain, each other, up dies down, smaller in thee, and is how and will each time I get less feels like all past summers interrupt, crisis of I. Rewriting in rereading allows the again and again during progress. Now making work, groups of 4 gathered, collective. Current body in current movement you are holding, continuum unlike ever wondered. Gentleness and restraint. Question place and present direction. Lock down the world's chaos is financial. Cost of pounds tumbled. Frisky matters. The well. Well is associated with unconscious like fear, inspiration. As government shuts human down, the recover is climate.